It is true. I am never praying or hoping to go to heaven after my death. Never. But this is my personal. But I don't think that you also maintain the same idea. You like to go to heaven because you do not know what heaven is. Religionists have created temptation by illustrating a beautiful picture of heaven. That is why you like to go there. So one day, when you come to know what it is, you give up your hope. When you refer to the teachings of the Buddha, there is very meaningful sayings. Pathavya ekarajyena saggassa gamanenava sabba lokadhipacchena sotapatti palangvara. Pathavya ekarajyena. Although we can win, conquer the whole earth to be the ruler of this earth and make one kingdom, saggassa gamanenava. Although we get the opportunity to go to heaven, sabba lokadhipacchena, although we can gain the authority to control the whole universe, sotapatti palangvara. Attainment of the first stage of sainthood, sotapatti, is higher than becoming a universal monarch to conquer the whole earth, to go to heaven and enjoy worldly life, and to get authority to control the whole universe. This is the sayings of the Buddha. This is the Buddha's attitude toward this so-called heaven, because he knew what it is. Why are we crazy to go to heaven? Because we have very strong craving in our mind for our enjoyment. But we never realize the same enjoyment that we are seeking for, praying for, in the end, create enormous disappointment, frustrations and unhappiness. This is the nature of all our pleasures, enjoyment. The pleasure that we experience in heaven is means to an end. There is no eternal or everlasting or unchangeable entertainment or pleasure in any part of the universe. This is the nature of enjoyment and pleasure. Now why the Buddha says Sotapatti, the attainment of the first stage, is higher than gaining heavenly bliss and authority here on this earth? Because when a person once attained the first stage of sainthood, there is a guarantee that this person never become an animal hereafter. Remember this. But after becoming a ruler of the world, after becoming even king of heaven, there is no such guarantee that this person never become an animal again. This is the uncertainty of the worldly pleasure, worldly powers. Not only that, when a person once attained the first stage of sainthood, there is a guarantee that this person never become a devil or ghost, or hereafter when rebirth take place, never become blind, deaf, dumb, crippled or mad. All the senses are clear. But after becoming a ruler or king of heaven, there is no such guarantee. When rebirth takes place, another shape or the formations of another life take place according to his own karma, previous karma. Furthermore, there is no guarantee that the rulers or the kings or anybody in this world who never goes to hell, rebirth never takes place in a suffering state after his or her death. Quite possible. But when once a person attains the first stage of sainthood, he never go to hell. Rebirth never take place in any of those suffering states. Furthermore, this repeated birth and death existent here in this universe, whether it is on this earth or somewhere else where there are living beings, no one can see the end of it unless the person find out the main cause of this repeated birth and death. Now we are going on round and round and round within this samsara, wheel of existence, because there is an energy that which pull us or push us. We cannot stand without moving. But when once that energy is cut off, it is impossible to push this person to go round and round, to have another rebirth, another decay, another death, another kind of suffering, and go again and again and again. Throughout our life, we are going on accusing, blaming, crying, fighting, struggling for our survival or for our living or to get rid of our problems and troubles and disturbances and to enjoy our life. It is an eternal battle. Until we die, we continue this battle. This is called existence. So in the process of this struggle, we create enormous mistake, troubles, problems, sufferings, difficulties, violence, bloodshed all over the world. What is the cause of it? Our craving for that existence and our craving for that pleasure. So we are not free from any of those problems and difficulties and the worries. This will continue, whether we believe it or not. But when once a person attains the first stage of sainthood, can curtail or can reduce, can cut off that repeated birth and death, not to go round and round and round again, to suffer again and again. But rulers or devas or gods or brahmas are not free from that. Now you can understand why the Buddha says, even the first stage of sainthood, initial stage of sainthood, is higher than becoming a deva, becoming a god, or enjoying worldly or heavenly bliss for a certain period. And what is the nature of life in heaven? And what is heaven? I told you religionists have created this temptation in your mind. Supposing if heaven and hell are closed down for the time being, is there anything for them to preach as their religion? They always come and frighten you, saying, if you don't follow this, you go to hell. If you believe this, you go to heaven. These are the only two weapons they use. If this heaven and hell are no more in this world, in this universe, do you think that religions can exist? Impossible. Because their religions are depend on heaven and hell. Let us come to the Buddha. And what is the Buddhist attitude toward heaven and hell? Do we depend on heaven and hell to practice Buddhism? Can't we practice Buddhism without praying to go to heaven or without creating fear of hell? Only religion in this world that can stand without depending on hell and heaven, it is Buddhism. We study the history of Buddhism for the last 2,500 years. Whether there is any teaching, any discourses the Buddha has given to create fear or to frighten people, saying if people do not accept his teaching that they go to hell. There is no such teaching. Again, the Buddha did not point out that heaven is the ultimate aim or the main purpose of this religion. Now you can understand how we can practice this religion without depending on heaven and hell. Group of young people who do not believe in heaven and hell or rebirth or anything came and discussed this matter with the Buddha. They say there are many religions. We do not know which religion is correct to accept. And we do not believe that there will be another life hereafter, after our death. Therefore, better not to practice any religion. The Buddha has given beautiful interpretation, explanation to these young people. What did he say? He has given enough reasons for these young people to consider how to understand, how to realize which method, which religion is correct. After giving these reasons, he said, you should not worry about your next life. You should not worry about heaven and hell. Forget about that. You must know how to behave as real human beings by maintaining your human dignity, by fulfilling all your duties and obligations and responsibilities without neglecting them. If you know how to live or how to lead harmless and respectable and honest life, that is enough for you. Don't worry about heaven or hell. Is there any other religious teacher who has given such liberal advice? Here you can understand what is the main purpose of the Buddha's teaching or Buddhism. The main purpose is to cultivate man's way of life, to train man's mind, teach him how to lead a respectable human being, teach him how to maintain peace and happiness and satisfaction in your life. If there is another life hereafter, that life cannot become a miserable one, because you have not abused this life. By abusing this life, you maintain all sort of belief. You create fear. You pray to God. You worship and do some offering. But you never try to shape up your life, your conduct, your thoughts. The Buddha did not introduce this type of religion. Whether you believe or not, your way of life itself mold your next life. Dānaṁ khalu sabhavena sagga manusa bhogada parināma vaseneva hotu mokkhopanissaya. Now here, if you like to enjoy worldly life, worldly pleasure, either as human beings or devas in heaven, it is not necessary for you to pray for that. Who says this? the Buddha. Not necessary to create aspiration in your mind that I want to go and enjoy my life in heaven. Why? He says, when you do some good deeds, meritorious deeds, naturally, as a result of your good deeds or merit, either worldly pleasure in human world or worldly pleasure in Devaloka or heaven, you can experience. Don't be crazy for that. Don't try to lower the status, the validity of the merits that you have accrued by doing some good deeds, developing more and more craving to enjoy your worldly life, which are impermanent, changeable, in the end create unsatisfactoriness. Then what did he say? I remember this saying. So when you do some good deeds, whether you pray for that, to experience worldly pleasure or heavenly pleasure, naturally you gain. But you should not limit, you should not abuse the real value of your merit. You can divert your mind to go further. Instead of praying and thinking, by the power of this merit, may I get the chance to go to heaven and enjoy my life. You create more and more craving in your mind by hoping, creating such aspiration. Instead of what you have to do, by the virtues of this merit, power of this merit, may I get more knowledge, more wisdom, more energy in my life, so that I can contribute my experience, my knowledge and wisdom and energy for the benefit of others who are weak, who are ignorant. Therefore, the result or the effect that I experience through this merit, I can use for the benefit of others, not only for my enjoyment's sake. Now that aspiration is higher than that selfish aspiration you created earlier, that you want to enjoy your life in heaven. That is for only your enjoyment, earlier one. Second one is not only for your enjoyment's sake, but to do some service to others. Again he says, although you gain knowledge, wisdom, power, authority, energy, there is a time limit for all these things that you gain. They are not everlasting. Again changeable. So by knowing this, you have to develop further. By the power of this merit, may I get the chance to eradicate, to wipe out, or to wash away all my human weaknesses, evil thoughts, bad habits, to gain perfection, enlightenment, purity in my life. Because worldly powers or pleasure never contribute towards this thing. So that I can pave the way for others also. I can teach others how to get rid of their problems, their worries and their suffering. Now see the three methods now. Now this clearly shows the aim of Buddhism is not heaven. That is very, very low degree. Heavenly pleasure is very low. Don't limit the validity of your merits by aspiring to go to heaven. So our aim must be to see the end of all our physical and mental disturbances, problems, worries and troubles and unhappiness. But not only for our own freedom or salvation, but also to tell others, to teach others, so that they also get the chance to see the end of their suffering. That is the aim of Buddhism. Of course, for that we use different terms or the words. Arahanta, Buddha, Samma Sambuddha, Nirvana. But these are the words. Don't worry about these words. I give you the idea. That is the aim. Now, the followers of all these religions in this world work together, pray, perform meritorious deeds to go to heaven. From the Buddhist point of view, there is no difficulty for them to go to heaven. Buddhists, Hindus, Christians, Muslims and some others. There is no difficulty to go to heaven. But unfortunately, the followers of some other religion say only followers of their religion get the chance to go to heaven. Others have no chance. They are very selfish, narrow-minded, because they cannot understand what heaven is. Remember, heaven is not their father's property. There is nobody in this world who can monopolize heaven as their property. Heaven is open to everybody irrespective of their religion. Even those who have no religion also can go to heaven. What is religion after all? It is a label. Your label cannot do anything if you are not qualified for that. There may be many amongst those who have no religion, who never claim any religion, who are very kind, very honest, very understanding, people who live like real gentlemen without hurting and disturbing others. Do you think that they cannot go to heaven? If those culprits, after violating, committing all sort of evil, wicked things, go and pray to God, please take away all my sins, I want to go to heaven. They say they can go to heaven, but those people who maintain good qualities and virtues and who lived as respectable gentlemen have no chance to go to heaven. What sort of religion is that? That is what the Buddha says to those young Kalamas. Don't worry about your next world, heaven or hell. Live as gentlemen. If there is heaven, there is no difficulty for you to go there. This is the Buddhist attitude. Right? All of us are working to go to heaven. So now Buddhists, Hindus, Muslims and free thinkers also, all are in heaven. After going there, Christians and Muslims say, this is our final goal. We want to settle down here. This is everlasting, never change. So they regarded this as everlasting, permanent, unchangeable, eternal bliss. Then there are two more groups. They say, Hindus and Buddhists, it is very difficult for us to accept this as a final goal. We have to go further. Then Hindus and the Buddhists develop their mind especially through their meditation, mental culture, training their mind by reducing their mental impurities. They say, Brahma world is higher than heaven. But to go to Brahma world, worldly merits are not enough. There must be some sort of mental training. Mental training means we have to reduce our crazy attitude toward the indulgence of five senses. We must know how to calm our senses. We must know how to maintain some sort of contentment in our life. Then rebirth can take place in Brahma world. When you read Metta Sutta, the result of the development of metta, 11 kinds of results that we experience immediately within this life. That means mental training. By reducing cruelty, anger, jealousy, grudge and all the evil forces from our mind, we cultivate kindness, compassion, sympathy, understanding. These are the qualities that we need to be born in Brahma world, not only merits. The last result, it is mentioned in this sutra, Uttaring appati vijjanto brahmalokupago hoti. So one who developed this kind of meditation or metta, loving kindness, in his mind, after his death, rebirth, existence again take place in one of those Brahma worlds. Not as human beings or as devas to enjoy worldly pleasures, but as one of the devas, Brahma devas, to experience more calmness, satisfaction, happiness, contentment, peace in their mind. These are the things that we really need. We are struggling to gain this thing, but adopted a wrong attitude. Our method is wrong. We never gain peace and happiness and contentment as we work today. So, now Hindus and Buddhists work, train their mind to reach Brahma world, higher than Devaloka or heaven. After reaching there, Hindus says, this is our final goal. We want to settle down here. This is our permanent, everlasting, because our Creator is here, Brahma. It's called union with Brahma. So they want to settle down thinking this is permanent. Then the Buddhist says, no. It is impossible for us to regard this as a final goal. Because these Brahmas are not completely free from their mental impurities or mental defilement. These Brahmas are not free from craving. Therefore, how can we regard this as final goal? But others cannot think in that way. They do not know how to think in that way. I can give another example in Dhajagga Sutra. In Paritta chanting books you can see this. When the Buddha was talking about the king of heaven, Sakra, he says, when there are wars in heaven, Sura and Asura. Sura means devas, Asura means these demons. Very powerful spirits. Always there will be conflicts between devas and asuras. And the Buddha says, Bhuta buddham bhikkhave devasura sangamo samupabbulo ahosi. The monks, do you know, long ago there was a war between Devas and Asuras. So that means Devas and gods are not free from anger, jealousy, greed, although they enjoy worldly life. That is why their life is not permanent. Then, all those who come to the battlefield for their protection, what they do? Either they carry the banner of 4 guardian gods, Dhritarashtra, Viruddha, Virupaksha, Vaisrana. They believe there are 4 guardian gods at 4 corners of the universe. Their belief is that they always keep an eye on you. You cannot do anything without their knowledge. You do things secretly, but they know everything. Not only they know everything, they have a book to record what you are doing here. All your good and bad things that you do secretly also, the record is there. You cannot hide anything. So people pray to these 4 guardian gods, asking them, please don't reveal my secret to others. I pray, I offer you one chicken leg. This is our attitude. That is why we pray to those gods. Here the Buddha says, they carry or they remember the banner of these 4 guardian gods for their protection. But it is not very effective. Why? The king of the Devas or king of God, Sakra, the Buddha says, Sakko bhikkhave devanamindo avita rago avita doso avita moho abhiru achambi anutrasi apalai. These are the weaknesses of King of Heaven, King of the Devas. What are these weaknesses? Avita rago. Sakra is not free from lust or craving. Avita doso, he is not free from anger or hatred. Avita moho, he is not free from illusions or ignorance. Abhiru, he is not free from fear. That is why he runs away when others fight. Then how can you take refuge in them when you are in trouble? You go back and read that book, Dajagga Sutra in Paritta chanting book. Then he says, he advised all his disciples, Ahampiko bhikkhave evaṁ vadāmi. I am also going to tell you something similar to that for you to practice. Whenever you have fear or some sort of insecurity feeling for your protection, I teach you something. Instead of thinking of such devas and sakras and brahmas, you must know how to think like this. Tathagato bhikkhave arahang samma sambuddho. The most enlightened, supreme enlightened, samma sambuddha. Vitarago. Completely eradicated his lust and craving and desire and selfishness. Veetha doso completely eradicated his anger, jealousy, grudge and hatred. Veetha moho eradicated his ignorance and illusions and hallucinations and wrong concept. Abhiru achambi. They have no fear in their mind. It is true. He says, the only person in this world who never get frightened when lightning strikes. Do you get frightened when lightning strikes? You get shocked like this in. That means fear. Only person in this world among human beings who never get frightened when lightning strikes is Arahant or Samma Sambuddha. All these are craving. But Arahantas and Buddhas do not crave for anything, not even for this body. They have no craving, but this is a nuisance to them, burdens to them. So they have no fear. Fear never appears in their mind. Now when you study this teaching, we can understand actually we are ignorant. Because of our ignorance and selfishness and craving, we follow and worship all these gods and devas and deities, asking this, asking this, asking this, not knowing the correct method, how to get rid of our problem. We follow and worship all these gods and devas and deities, asking this, asking this, asking this, not knowing the correct method, how to get rid of our problem. By taking refuge in them, we never strengthen our mind. The mind becomes more weaker and weaker. Why? We depend on them like small children. The Buddha taught us to strengthen this mind by understanding. Then that undue fear, suspicion also disappear from your mind. This is the Buddhist method. Bahunve saranam yanti pabbhatani vanani cha arama rukkha chetyani manussa bhayatajjita. Dhammapada, beautiful saying. Buy that book, only $50. You can see more details and stories and illustrations also. What the Buddha says. All those who are fear-stricken, experience fear and suspicion in their life, go and worship and pray and take refuge to this image, that image, this god, that god, this tree, that tree, this jungle, this river and everywhere. Go and worship and pai everywhere, pai. Why? Fear in your heart. If there is no such fear in your mind, you never do all these things. Because you know where the mistake is. You try to correct that mistake instead of going and worshipping to this tree and that tree and this image and that image. The Buddha did not introduce this kind of religion for you to go and worship everywhere. This clearly shows we are ignorant. So the method introduced by the Buddha To get rid of your ignorance is to develop some sort of saddha, faith, confidence, inspiration. Then the dark clouds that which are closing your normal mind and be removed. Then you get some sort of brightness, light into your mind through your faith and confidence and inspiration. It's a very deep meaning, what I am telling you. I repeat. Whenever you have fear, your minds are closed with imaginations, suspicions, and so many things that you have created as imagination. That is why you maintain fear. When you put or close the door in a dark room with a small child, that small child is alone in that dark room. That child starts to cry, scared of darkness. He is alone. If another person goes there, either mother or father or sister or brother, then that child stops crying, gain confidence. When he come out from that dark room, again he stops this crying because brightness is there. So when we have fear, we are in that dark room. You cannot see things properly. At that time we need somebody, companion, to console us, give us confidence. Also what people do, at that time they invite God. Yes, that belief really helped them at that time. Whether God exists or not, it is immaterial. That concept, this belief helps. Don't worry, God will protect you. Then get some inspiration, hope. The Buddha has given an idea. Although you have not done enough meritorious deeds, if you are crazy to go to heaven and enjoy your life, the Buddha says, yes, you can go. Mahasamaya Sutra, also in Paritta chanting book. Yekechi buddhang saranang gatate nate gamissanti appaya pahaya manusang dehang devakayang paripuresan. I am giving all these references from the Buddha's teaching. What the Buddha says. Assume you had no chance to do some merits, some good deeds. Even at the last moment before your death, you had the chance either to see the Buddha or to remember the Buddha. If not, to see the Buddha image, that which can create inspirations, hopes and confidence in your mind. The happiness that appear in your mind at that time before your death pave the way for you to go to heaven, but not to hell or animal kingdom. Nate gamissanti appaya. If that person dies with that happiness in his mind, He never go to hell. Nate gamisanti apaya, hell. Because of that happiness, cheerfulness. Pahaya manusang deham. After this death, when this physical body is already collapsed, the life, devakayang paripurasanti, go and join with the other devas. Then who says it is difficult for Buddhists to go to heaven? What rubbish are they talking? When they come and challenge, do you know all these sayings of the Buddha? Your knowledge of the Dhamma is very poor. That is why you surrender everything to others. So it is very clear in the basic teachings of the Buddha. If you really want to go to heaven, there is no difficulty. Then why do you want to go to another religion to go to heaven? After all, that heaven is for them, not for us. We have our own heaven. Very childish argument. Again, the aim of our life, the aim of Buddhism is not that heaven, just now I told you. Devas in heaven are not free from worldly suffering. They have anger, jealousy. They too fight. And their existence, their life, their physical body is so tender, very uncertain. When once their anger is flare up like fire, flame, they collapse and die. This is the nature of life of a deva. Khidda padusika deva. Certain devas, after playing and playing and playing, when they were exhausted, so tired, the body cannot tolerate this, collapse and die. The disadvantage of becoming a god, becoming a deva in heaven is this. Here we can understand why human beings are more fortunate. Devas have no facilities, opportunities to accumulate enough merits for their next life. So they do not know what will happen to them. They do not know anything about their fate after their death. They go on enjoying by spending all the good merits that they have accumulated during their previous birth. But within that lifetime, they do not accumulate enough merit because they are in the dark. Some understanding devas, whenever somebody is going to die in heaven, the other devas come and tell him, oh, ito bho sugating gaccha. After your death, you must go to heaven. Can you understand this? What is this heaven? Human beings. Devas regard this as heaven. Ito bho, from here you must go to Sugating heaven. That means don't come back again. You must go to heaven from here. Why? We have human minds. We have intelligent mind. We can understand what this life is. We know the nature of impermanency, uncertainty in our life. Others do not know this, just go on enjoying until they collapse. We know that we are spending what we have accumulated during our previous birth. By knowing this, we do not keep quiet. So what we do? Within this lifetime again we collect enough materials, enough merits for the next existence. Only human beings can do this. Animals have no such idea. Devas have no such idea. Brahmas have no such idea. They spend what they have accumulated, either good karma or bad karma. As human beings, by knowing, today we are fortunate. All our five senses are normal. We can see, we can hear, we can smell, we can taste, we get feeling, we can think. We are not mad. All our senses are normal. How fortunate we are. Because how many millions of others are living in this world without these five senses? Again we are fortunate. How many millions are dying in various other countries without food? A starvation. I don't think even one man dies here in this country without food. You must appreciate that. How many millions are living without a piece of cloth to cover their nakedness? Go to certain countries and see how they live. Here, every Chinese New Year, load of old clothing people come and dump here in the temple, saying old. But when you open and see very new, it's not old, out of date, out of fashion. So when you send these things to some other countries, to them they are like gold, so valuable thing. They have never seen in their life. But still you are grumbling. You never learn to compare your life with others, how they suffer. By considering this, we gained all these facilities while others are suffering because we had enough good karma. We must be wise. We can continue as long as to see the end of this existence without suffering. So we do more and more good deeds for us to lead a peaceful, happy, satisfied life in the next birth. That is why we are very fortunate as human beings. Devas cannot do that. Not only that, there is another very important point that we have not learned. Assume you have done some bad karmas, bad deeds. Other religions say you must go and pray to God. He will forgive or wash away your sins. But we cannot accept this belief because it is not practical. Not at all. Because Committing sins means disturbing others by robbing, raping, swindling, bluffing, killing, destroying, sinning. These are the sins. These are the bad karma. God is powerful. He is watching. While we are committing all sorts of bad things, while we are disturbing innocent people, He keep quiet. They say, if we believe in God, only after our death, God will come and take away the sins committed by us. Can you justify this? Why is it necessary for Him to wait until we die to take away our sins? While we are committing this mistake, while we are violating peace of innocent people, what is the difficulty for God to come and stop this? Take away our sins from our mind. To us there is no meaning at all. So as Buddhists, we don't believe that God come and take away our sin. It does not work. Then what are we going to do if there is nobody to take away our sins? Are we going to surrender? No. Now here, the beauty in the Buddha's teaching. If we have done some bad deeds or bad karmas, one day when you come to know that you have done bad things, you have disturbed others, then make up your mind, determine not to repeat, not to do such dirty thing again. And from that day onward, you never disturb others also. After that, you start to do more and more good deeds from that day onward. More and more meritorious deeds. Then you will be able to overcome the effect of certain bad deeds that you have done earlier by accumulating more and more good deeds. But not simply by praying to any God without doing any good deeds. You can pray no harm. Now which is more meaningful and practical and useful? Simply believe in God and pray, asking Him to take away your sins, or by realizing that it is bad, therefore I must stop all my bad deeds and also do some good deeds, some service to others, which is more meaningful and practical. Then you will be able to overcome your weaknesses. This is the Buddhist method. So devas have no such opportunity. Animals have no such opportunity. They carry on their life as they were born, according to their previous karma. They cannot change their way of life. We can adjust. We can change our life by using our intelligence. This is more important. There are 4 methods that which help us to change the effect or the result of our good karma and bad karma. One of them is intelligence. By using our intellect, scientists are doing this. That is why scientific discoveries have become nuisance to many religions. They say, God created like this, you cannot change. They don't care for God, they use intelligence. They change. That man create and the God create and man change. Crippled, blind, deaf, created by God. To carry on their life forever, to suffer forever, is a curse from God. Buddhists and Hindus also say, oh, it is their bad karma, no one can change it. Wrong. You cannot say no one can change. You must learn what the Buddha taught. He said, you can change. By using your intelligence and understanding. Scientists are doing this. That is intelligence. Use intelligence to change your karma. When I say change your karma, it does not mean that you can completely eradicate, wipe out, no more effect. What you have done is this. By using your intelligence, you have stopped the effect of certain karma for the time being, or only for this life. But there is no guarantee hereafter you won't get it. Understand it? This is the uncertainty of our life. So we have so many hidden karmas that we have stopped the effect without allowing these karmas to affect us. But they are waiting for a chance. But we also can continue doing more and more good deeds, developing more and more intelligence. One day, I attain the first stage of second stage, third stage, fourth and Arahanta and Nibbana. No more bad effect. Withdraw. This is the way how to forgive your sin. Nobody else can forgive your sin. You can do that. But you cannot do that simply by worshipping and praying, but doing some good deeds by cultivating your mind. So the advantages of becoming human being, you can understand it. We can think, we can understand what is this life, what is this world, and how to mold our next life. Other living beings cannot do that. In spite of all these things, I forgot to tell you one thing, what the Buddha says. The followers of all these religions are waiting, praying to go to heaven after their death. The follower of the Buddha is a very rich man. One day came to see the Buddha and told him that he is a worldly man. He has no time to meditate, to take 8 precepts, to lead a pure, holy life. Even then, he said, after his death, he said he would like to go to heaven. And now the Buddha had to tell him how to do that. The beautiful answer given by the Buddha. He said, to experience heavenly bliss, It is not necessary for you to wait until you die. You can experience heavenly bliss while you are living here in this world. So according to the Buddha, we can create heaven within this lifetime in this world while we are living here. It depends on how you handle this life, how you make use of this life, how you fulfill all your duties, how you maintain peace and happiness, satisfaction in your life, how far you have cultivated your mind. Then you can experience heavenly bliss here in this earth while you are here. Again, the method introduced by the Buddha for that is this. Mata petti bharang jantum kule jetta pachayana sannhang sakhila sambhasang pesu neya bhayana Machera vinaye yuttang satchang koda vibhung narang tangve deva tavatingsa. Ahu sappuriso. This is the method. If you really want to experience heavenly bliss, even before your death, while you are here, this is the method. Then after your death, there is no problem. What are the things? Every month you must burn 1 lorry load of joss sticks. Every week you must slaughter 1 chicken. That is the method introduced by the Buddha, isn't it? No? Here, Mata petti bharang jantum. You have your father and mother. Whether they are good or bad, it is immaterial. You have certain duties within your capacity for you to fulfill. While fulfilling your duties toward them, you gain happiness, thinking, I pay back for what they have done for me. Now I am not indebted to them. I know how they had to suffer when I was a baby. I know how my mother suffered when the mother was expecting me. So I also must, out of gratitude, I must do something for her. And the poor father who works so hard thinking of children. When you fulfill your duty, the happiness you gain relieves your mind. One item. Kule jetta pachayana. In your families there are some elders. Grandmother, grandfather, uncles, aunties and many others. You must know how to give due respect to your elders in your family. There are many things that you can gain from them according to their experience in their life. When you respect the elders, you get their blessing in return. This is our humane qualities. We are not like animals. This is the second quality. Sannhang sakila sambhasan. When you talk, You must know how to talk without hurting others' feelings, without using dirty and harsh and harmful words to hurt others' feelings. Pesuneya pahayana. Don't go and spread all those rumors and gossiping to create misunderstanding and conflicts and calamities and enmity among others, your friends, your relatives. You must know how to guard your tongue. Machera vinaye yuttam. Don't be selfish. Try to contribute something within your capacity for the benefit of others. There are various ways that you can do this. Not only by spending money. According to your knowledge, your way of life, you can contribute something. Don't be selfish. Vinaya. In our thoughts and word and action there must be some sort of vinaya, discipline. Now you are disciplined, thinking this is a temple, this is a place of worship. We are conducting a religious service without disturbing. This is discipline. Again, when you go out, your attitude, your way of life is entirely different. So at home, in front of children, in front of ladies and religious teachers, there are certain discipline you have to observe. Then you can avoid so many misunderstandings. People regard you as cultured people. Again, there must be discipline in your thoughts, word and action. Satchang. When you talk, always try to maintain truthfulness without telling lies. Here the telling lies means there are two ways. One way of telling lies is to gain something by bluffing, cheating others. The other way of telling lies is to harm others and disturb others. Besides these two, there may be so many other things, don't worry about it. Kodha vibhunnara. You have anger. I have anger. I know that. You also must know that. By knowing this, you must know how to control this anger without allowing this anger to flare up. When once it is goes out of control, then the word and the action, your attitude become very violent, can create enormous problem. Control your anger. See? These are the things that you have to maintain, and then you can understand. If you really uphold these qualities just now I mentioned, you can experience heavenly bliss while you are here. Because others also never disturb you. Others respect. Your family members respect. You have no guilty feeling in your mind. Your minds are clear. Your minds are pure. Then you can maintain happiness. What else do we need? So after that, when we die, with that pure mind, with that happiness, next existence, next life, become more fortunate in worldly sense for you to maintain more worldly peace. So when you study the Buddha's teaching, 45 years teaching, you can find thousands and thousands of this kind of discourses he has given to us. So now you can understand our aim of life is not that heaven, but to find out the ultimate goal or the aim of our life. What is that? Again he says, here, the main purpose of my coming to this world to become a Buddha, he says, only for this. Not to talk about heaven and hell, not to talk about the origin or the beginning of the world and the life, but to tell you to point out, to explain why you cannot satisfy with your life. Do you know why you cannot satisfy with your life? You do not know. That is called ignorance. That is ignorance. You do not know. You create your own imagination, accusing, blaming others. But the mistake is somewhere else. The Buddha says, I came to tell you why you are not satisfied. Do you know why you suffer? From your birth up to your last breath, every minute, suffering, 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 nothing but suffering. As soon as when your mother dropped you into this world by giving birth, how do you express your happiness as a newcomer to this world? So bang, bang, crying. Every child that comes to this world, the first message that child gives is crying, crying, crying. It explains the nature of life, nature of the world, nothing but suffering. And this we continue up to the last moment, going on crying and crying on various issues. At the last moment when we are going to die also, again crying. This is the nature of existence. And then the Buddha says, yes, you have cried enough from your birth up to the last breath, but don't behave in such a way for you to continue this cry in the next life also. To cry more and more there. You must know how to stop this cry. So I came here to tell you that. So I came here to tell you what is the cause of your crying. What is the cause of your unhappiness? Why do you complain and accuse always? It is nothing but your own selfishness. Take long time for you to understand this. Your own selfishness or greed. Then he says, I came to tell you, to show you the correct method how to stop this crying. how to stop your worrying and suffering. We have the way, method. That is called Eight Noble Paths. That is the path method. There are in this noble path no worshipping, no praying, no offering, no recital of mantras, no rites and rituals, no burning, no cutting, no poking, but molding your life to lead a respectable, normal, peaceful life. But we don't want to do that. And to tell you again, in the end, what do you gain as your final goal? It is neither heaven or Brahma world or any other world. Because the life in heaven and Brahma or any other part of the universe is impermanent, although they are lasting one, thousands or millions of years. But in the end there will be impermanency changes. Others could not understand this. So the final goal is